Joining us now, NBC's Melanie Zanona, who is behind this new reporting. Helene Cooper, Pentagon correspondent at the New York Times. She is also an MSNBC political contributor. And General Wesley Clark, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Melanie, what else are you hearing from sources on the president's reaction to this signal chat?
Yeah, behind the scenes, I'm told that President Donald Trump has been fuming about this entire fiasco. In multiple conversations yesterday, I'm told that President Donald Trump specifically said he was frustrated with Michael Waltz, his national security advisor, for inadvertently adding that Atlantic reporter to the Signal group chat. And Trump has also been upset with the media coverage and how this has now become a multi-day controversy for the White House. But that is a very different tune than what publicly Trump has said. He has stood by Mike Waltz, said he's a good man, said he has learned a lesson. And so it does not appear that at this moment anyway, there's any appetite to fire Mike Waltz or anyone else in the administration over this whole controversy, despite the fact that we know that Trump is very privately annoyed by it.
And Melanie, the president also is frustrated by the state of the race to fill Mike Waltz's congressional seat. What's going on there?
Yeah, that is something else that Trump was complaining about, I'm told, in his conversations yesterday. This is a seat that Trump won by 30 points, and yet it has become far more competitive than it should be for Republicans. The candidate there, Randy Fine, has been massively outraised by his Democratic opponents. He was late to get on the airwaves. Some Republican leadership, believe that he has not been taking the race very seriously. And so the leadership and Donald Trump have had to swoop in at the last minute, including Donald Trump doing a teletown hall for the candidate last night. Now, the GOP leadership is confident that ultimately they will be able to win that seat, but I'm told that Trump is very frustrated about the narrative and the optics, and so all of that has really contributed to all of his growing frustrations with Michael Waltz here.
I mean, and Melanie, just to underline what you said, it's a plus 30 district, plus 30 Trump district?
Yeah, it's a super red Republican district. By no means in any world should this be competitive, but it could ultimately come down to single digits. So it's a huge deal for them.
And Helene, meanwhile, you have new reporting about how U.S. military pilots are receiving what they're learning about the Signal group chat.
Yeah. Hi, Jose. Thanks for having me. Fighter pilots don't usually talk a lot, but I've spent a lot of time covering the Pentagon and aircraft carriers. So for the last 2 days, I've been calling a lot of the squadrons and former fighter pilots who I've built sort of a reservoir with, and they are really, really angry. I could not find a single one who was able to push back at all against the notion that this wasn't what to agree with what the Trump administration is saying, which is that this did not compromise national security. What they're particularly upset about is Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, putting the exact times that they were going to be launching into that fighter pilots and F-18s would be launching into the air. He did that in that group chat. He gave sort of 30 minutes advance notice to whoever might be on or be able to get into that group chat of when the first strike group would depart the carrier. And then he gave almost 3 hours advance notice of when the second strike group would be arriving in what they call the strike zone, which is sort of arriving to where positioned to be able to the strike window, to be able to launch and strike these targets in Yemen. And that's a one pilot said to me that this is a lifetime of advance notice for an enemy. They don't talk about this. They don't want. Another one said, we don't want anybody knowing when we're arriving on their doorstep, and you can imagine why. And so it's been astounding to see sort of the reaction among the troops. Because they are sort of bound by all these national security and operational straitjackets and tying them up, saying that they're not supposed to talk about this kind of stuff. They know is their own lives on the line. But to turn around and see their commander, the guy who's leading the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who's always talking about how he's committed to warriors and war fighters and the warrior ethos, to turn around and compromise their security that way.
And so, Helene, it's more than just the pilots you spoke with. It's more than just, well, for example, the Secretary of Defense didn't specify in those chats where exactly these attacks were going to occur, but is it the fact that he just talked about the attack going to occur that has them upset?
They are upset because that is saying, he may not say is exactly going, but first of all, it's obviously the signal chat is about Yemen. Anybody looking at the signal chat can see that they are targeting Yemen. That's clearly in there. And so it doesn't take a lot of, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out where these F-18s are going to be coming from. They've been targeting these Houthi places in the past. They're coming from the Harry S. Truman. It's not like the Houthis don't know. And the Houthis have air defense capability. They've shot down American drones. They've tried to shoot down F-18s and they've missed. But it's not as if they have surface to air defense systems supplied to them by the Iranians. So when you think about that and you think about all of the checks and balances that go into protecting American fighter pilots and operational security, the fact that on an aircraft carrier, they lock people down before these types of operations, and there's radio silence. They don't even talk about it on radios. And then you turn around and drop this kind of information in a commercial app. It's a huge, if any of those fighter pilots had done anything like this, they would be locked up.
Yeah, I mean, General, and Helene paints such a precise picture of what the concerns are. And there is no doubt that the Houthis specifically do have some pretty elaborate SA systems and surface-to-air missiles that are very effective and efficient. What's your reaction, General, to what we heard from Helene's reporting?
You know, as the days have gone on, becomes more and more serious. Look, it was maybe you could say it was a rookie mistake that Hegseth got all excited about this mission, wanted to sort of brag to this Principals Committee group and say, look what this is going to be great. Look what I'm doing here. Okay, fine. But first of all, it was a serious breach of security. Secondly, he's put his troops in danger. But he needed to have apologized immediately. Instead, he's lied about it in public. And these are the two things that really are going to hurt him and hurt us as a nation. The Secretary of Defense our military relies on the integrity, on the courage and integrity of the people that serve in it. When you make a mistake, you got to fess up. You got to learn your lesson, and you got to admit it. You can't be lying about it. And everybody's going to make some mistakes, so it's fine. Okay, he made a mistake. Think about the family reaction to this. It's not just the pilots. You're a woman with kids in San Diego, and the Secretary of Defense is telling the enemy when your husband's going to be over the target zone so he can be attacked. So it's not just the pilots here. Look, this has gotten more serious because it's not just a mistake, as they always say, it's the attempt to cover it up. And in this case, you're dealing with the integrity of the armed forces. You're dealing with the respect of the men. And Secretary Hegseth is, he's trying his best. He went out there and ran with the Marines. He's lifting some weights. Okay, but that's the easy stuff. Here's the hard stuff. You made a mistake. You need to be honest about it. You need to fix it. You better apologize, and you better mean it. And then there's the broader implications of this thing. Why are they using a signal? And why wasn't the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on there? If it was a principals committee, he should have been on there. The fact was, it really wasn't a principals committee. And even Peggy Noonan in the Wall Street Journal admits this is like a bunch of guys bragging, hey, look what I got. I got a new, look at my hot rod here. Watch this thing. Listen to this sound or something. It wasn't real. So it was a mistake, okay? The administration's been in charge 2 months. Nobody wants them to fail. We need a strong national security. Mr. Secretary, please take charge of this.